There are very few places where I've traveled and I finished my trip and was genuinely confused as to why more people aren't talking about this place, and Montenegro is one of those places. I spent 2 full weeks road tripping through Montenegro, starting and ending in Kotor, and it instantly became one of the most underrated countries I've ever visited, not just in Europe, but in the whole world. If you love nature, mountains, dramatic landscapes, and feeling like you've discovered somewhere before the crowds do, Montenegro is unreal. The mountain scenery here is genuinely mesmerizing. I'm talking towering peaks, deep canyons, alpine lakes, winding roads, and views that just make you pull over every 5 minutes. What shocked me most is how diverse such a small country is. In one trip, you can experience medieval coastal towns, wild national parks, quiet mountain villages, and some of the most beautiful drives in Europe. So in this video, I'm breaking down why Montenegro is so underrated, sharing quick facts to help you plan, and then walking you through the exact 9-day road trip itinerary I'd recommend if you want to experience the best of it. Before we get into the itinerary, here are a few quick facts that make Montenegro especially appealing for American travelers. First, Montenegro is small, but that's a good thing. You can drive across the entire country in a matter of hours, which makes road trips feel incredibly efficient and rewarding. The currency used is the euro, even though Montenegro isn't officially in the EU yet, but that does make budgeting and planning easy. Montenegro is also very affordable compared to Western Europe. Accommodations, food, gas, and activities are all pretty reasonably priced, especially once you leave the coast. English is widely spoken in tourist areas, especially among younger people, so communication is rarely an issue. And as for safety, Montenegro feels extremely safe. I was comfortable driving, hiking, and exploring throughout the country. The best time to visit is late spring to early fall. Summer is beautiful, but it does get busy along the coast. If you love hiking and fewer crowds, late May, June, or September are ideal. So now let's dive into why Americans ignore Montenegro. It isn't ignored because it's not beautiful. It's ignored because most Americans don't know what to do with it. When Europeans think Europe, they default to the same countries, right? Italy, France, Spain, the UK. That's it. Montenegro sits in the Balkans. It's a region that usually feels really unfamiliar, confusing, or intimidating if you've never traveled there before. There's also a lack of marketing. Montenegro doesn't aggressively sell itself in the way that Italy or Greece does. You don't see it constantly on social media, and it doesn't have one single must-see landmark that dominates travel guides, right? Like Italy has the Colosseum, France has the Eiffel Tower. Another reason is that Montenegro doesn't really fit neatly into one category. It's not just a beach destination. It's not just a city trip. It's not just a mountain trip. Kind of all of it compressed into one small country. That combination makes it a little bit harder to explain, but once you experience it, it completely clicks. Now let's compare crowds in Montenegro and the other European hotspot cities. This is where Montenegro really shines. Kotor is often compared to Dubrovnik, Croatia, and visually, it absolutely holds its own, but the difference in crowd levels is night and day. In Kotor, you can still wander the old town early in the morning or in the evening and feel like the city just belongs to you, especially ever since Game of Thrones came out and tourists are just flocking to Dubrovnik left and right. The crowds are insane. Then we have Dermator National Park, which offers the kind of mountain scenery people usually travel to the Alps for, but without the packed cable cars, resort towns, or inflated prices. Even the drives feel different. Instead of traffic jams and tour buses, you're on quiet roads pulling over just because the view is too good not to stop. There were times during our road trip where we didn't even see a car on the road for like an hour, and in such a small country, that's honestly kind of crazy. Montenegro gives you the same like wow moments as Europe's most famous destinations, just without fighting crowds for them. So who is Montenegro perfect for? Because it isn't for everyone, and that's actually part of why it's so special. The country is perfect for you if you love nature and mountains, you enjoy road trips and scenic drives, prefer calm over chaos, hate crowded tourist spots, want authentic experiences, and like discovering places before they blow up. It's especially great for introverts, photographers, hikers, and travelers who don't need luxury resorts to feel fulfilled. If your dream trip involves quiet mornings, dramatic landscapes, and feeling connected to a place rather than just kind of rushing through it, Montenegro will exceed your expectations, I promise. So now let's get into the 9-day itinerary. Days 1 and 2 are spent in Kotor, and honestly, it's one of the most beautiful places to begin a road trip. Kotor sits at the edge of a bay surrounded by steep mountains, which gives it this dramatic, almost fjord-like feel. The old town is compact, historic, and and completely walkable with stone streets, hidden squares, and centuries-old buildings. Spend your first day getting oriented, wander the old town, grab coffee by the water, and just kind of soak in the atmosphere. Kotor feels calm in the mornings and evenings, especially once the day trippers leave. On day 2, if you're up for it, hike up to the fortress above the city. It's a challenging climb, don't get me wrong, but the view over the bay is one of the best in Europe. This is one of those moments where you realize Montenegro is operating on a completely different level when it comes to scenery, and if the weather is nice, you can spend the rest of your day just kind of sunbathing by the lake and soaking in the relaxing vibes before you're on the go for the next few days. Kotor sets the tone perfectly. It's historic, scenic, and never overwhelming. After the coast, head inland towards the Komovi Mountains for days 3 and 4, and this is where Montenegro really starts to feel wild. The drive alone is an experience. You'll pass through small villages, winding mountain roads, and landscapes that feel untouched. This part of the country sees very few tourists, which makes it perfect if you want quiet, raw nature. The Komovi Mountains are ideal for hiking, scenic drives, and just kind of disconnecting. The peaks are dramatic, the air feels different up here, and the pace of life slows way down. This is a great place to stay in a guest house or an eco lodge, kind of just eat local food and experience a side of Montenegro that most people never really get to see. This is actually one of my favorite memories of our entire trip. We stayed in this Airbnb, which I'll link down in the description below, and it was just 2 little cabins on this local man's land, and the views were the most gorgeous views I've ever seen. And he cooked us dinner and breakfast, he gave us free beers to drink with him and his friends, and it was just truly such a local experience that I will always cherish. So if you love mountains, this will likely be one of your favorite parts of the trip. For days 5 and 6, we'll head to Prokletchi National Park, often called the Accursed Mountains, and the name fits. This region is rugged, it's dramatic, it's jaw-dropping. Jagged peaks rise sharply from the valleys, and the scenery feels almost alpine. Hiking here is incredible, with trails that take you deep into some of Montenegro's most untouched landscapes. So on day 5, pick one of the many hikes that are in the area to do, and then on day 6, you can visit the Blue Eye before you begin your drive towards Dermator National Park. The drive itself is long, but it's stunning, and it's part of the experience. This is road tripping at its best. It's quiet roads, huge views, and constant wow moments. Break up the drive with stops, take your time, enjoy how different each region really feels. Days 7 and 8 will be spent in Dermator National Park. If Montenegro had a crown jewel, Dermator would be it. This park is absolutely unreal. Think glacial lakes, dense forests, towering peaks, and one of the deepest canyons in Europe. It's the kind of place where every direction looks like a postcard. Spend your time hiking, visiting Black Lake, and exploring the surrounding area. Even if you're not a hardcore hiker, the viewpoints and accessible trails alone make this stop worth it. Dermator feels peaceful, expansive, and powerful. It's a reminder of how much untouched nature still exists in Europe if you know where to look. On day 9, you can either drive back to Kotor to end where you started or continue on to your next destination, Croatia, Albania, or deeper into the Balkans. Either way, the final drive is a chance to reflect on how much you've seen in just over a week. Montenegro packs an unbelievable amount into a small country, and this itinerary honestly barely scratches the surface. Montenegro is proof that some of the best travel experiences in Europe aren't in the places that everybody talks about. If you love nature, road trips, dramatic scenery, and feeling like you've discovered something special, Montenegro should be at the very top of your bucket list. It's calm, it's affordable, it's breathtaking, and it's still flying under the radar somehow for now. If you've been to Montenegro, let me know your favorite spot, and if you haven't, tell me, would you add it to your 2026 travel plans? This is Europe without the crowds, and Montenegro does it better than almost anywhere else. So now let's take a look at my Montenegro road trip vlog to see what this road trip actually looked like.